Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pat's Pulpit Pregame Preview. I am Rich Hill, and with me always is Alec Shane. Alec, how are you doing today?
You know, Rich, it's cold, it's rainy. We've got some residual Hurricane Matthew wind and rain and gross stuff. I slept on my neck wrong last night, and I can't really move to the left at all without turning my entire body. I don't know why the human body doesn't adjust for that in sleep, but here I find myself. I'm all crippled. I'm not having the best day, but you know what? It's okay because Tom Brady is back, my friend.
Yeah, doesn't that make everything better? The fact that he's there, who cares about your neck anymore, Alec? Tom Brady is back this week, back from suspension, first game of his season of 2016. The Patriots are taking on the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Alec, before we start talking about this game, we should turn our focus towards the rest of the league. But I think that this is kind of like Christmas morning for Patriots fans because, it's the return of their quarterback.
Yeah, amen to that. Tom Brady's suspension is over. Deflategate is finally behind us officially. All that nonsense is in the books, and the Patriots are sitting at 3-1 on their only loss of the year, coming off a rookie third rounder with a busted up thumb. Everyone's pretty happy about it. Cleveland must be being like, why does this have to happen to us again? Poor Cleveland. But yeah, let's talk about the rest of the league first because there's a lot to break down about this game. There's actually a lot of games going on around the league in Week 5 that have Patriots implications. We can kind of just do a quick little rundown. Which one do you want to talk about? It's up to you, buddy. But the Jets are playing the Steelers at 1 p.m. The Falcons are playing the Broncos at 4:05 p.m., the late game. We have Titans-Dolphins at 1. We have the late game of the Bills and the Rams. So a lot to talk about. The Bears and the Colts at 1. Any game in particular you think's most exciting or fascinating to you?
Well, so two different questions there. I think that the best game is definitely going to be that Falcons-Broncos game because the Broncos defense has been lights out. I think that they are directly competing with the Seahawks for the title of best defense in the NFL. And we just saw Julio Jones, wide receiver of the Falcons, put up 300 receiving yards last week. So I think that that's going to be a great matchup. Matt Ryan has been looking fantastic this year. He's leading the league in a lot of different categories at quarterback. He's currently the MVP favorite, which is big for him. And so putting him up against a very, very strong defense in the Broncos and a very, very great secondary would be a very, very good test for both of them. So I'm very, very interested to see how that plays out. Rooting for the Falcons, Boston College guy myself, so I will be rooting for Matt Ryan. But also the Patriots themselves will really want the Broncos lose because that'll put them on even footings if the Patriots can do their job today and take out the Cleveland Browns.
Totally. The Broncos have actually looked pretty good, not only defensively, obviously, but their offense. Trevor Siemian has been a very good quarterback. He's out today, or he's inactive. Not he's inactive. He's active, but he's not getting the start. I believe rookie Paxton Lynch will be starting today, so I'll be curious to see what he can do against the Falcons defense, who's pretty bad. The Falcons' offense is scoring points at will, it seems, but their defense has been giving up all kinds of points across the board. So that would kind of be like a strength versus strength, weakness versus weakness matchup. But the good thing about that is the Pats game will be over by them. We can definitely focus on that one and use that as our afternoon activity. How about the Jets Steelers? Terrelle Pryor is out today. Eric Decker's out today. Le'Veon Bell is back. Steelers lost to the Eagles, so I don't really know exactly what's going on. They came back and trounced the Chiefs. So are you all in on the Steelers, or do you think they still have a lot to prove as a franchise going as one of those top tier teams in the AFC?
I think you look at the Steelers, they're not built like the Steelers of the teams that we recognize from the early Patriots dynasty. Those Steelers teams were driven by a fantastic defense, and they had a good enough offense to get it done. Right now, their defense is fine. It's less than middling, but their offense is incredible. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's a top 5 quarterback. Antonio Brown's a top 2-3 wide receiver. Le'Veon Bell's a top 2-3 running back. They have a lot of talent in that offense. And as you said, without Terrelle Pryor, they don't have a good pass rush. I don't think that the Jets have enough manpower to stop this Steelers offense. But I actually have a question for you. In my rooting guide this week, I was evaluating this game, and I mean, the immediate thought to me is that the Patriots will want the Jets to lose this week, right? That if the Jets lose, they fall to 1-4, and teams that are 1-4 have a 5% chance of making the playoffs. It's not a good look for them. And so I can just see okay, well, we'll lock up the division that way. If you win the AFC East, you make the playoffs, eliminate the Jets from consideration this early on. That's something you have to take. But alternatively, very, very good team. Patriots play them in 2 weeks. If the Steelers Patriots will get a little bit of breathing room there, because I think that the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Broncos are going to be the three teams at the end of the day in the AFC, just like always. So I think that someone trying to make the smart choice for the Patriots with regards to who should win, who should lose, the Patriots would want the Steelers to lose just to keep that edge in the conference.
You can definitely make that case, but I really think the more important thing at this point is definitely winning the division. And the sooner you can get your division opponents out of it, the sooner you can move forward. And it's still pretty early in the NFL season to be talking about, who's hosting who in the playoff games. And in terms of even looking that far ahead, Pittsburgh, the Patriots do okay there in the postseason. That's not one of those places where Tom Brady can't seem to win, like Denver, for example. So of the two teams, Steelers and Broncos, I'm with you 100%. It's going to be Patriots, Steelers, Broncos in 1, 2, and 3 in some order come the end of December. But I'm not worried about going to Pittsburgh should it come down to that. I'm more worried about going to Denver. So in this juncture, I'll definitely root for the Steelers to win this one, kind of get the Jets out of it completely. I think if the Jets lose today and Fitzpatrick throws another couple of picks, 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6 again, I think Brandon Marshall might start to finally unravel. He's been kind of a ticking time bomb for a while in terms of his unhappiness with the various franchises you've seen historically. So a 1-4 start with a bad Fitzpatrick performance could signal the beginning of the end for the Jets. And I'll worry about the Steelers in a couple of weeks. If the Patriots beat them, then they'll be in great shape. So I'm with you 100%. I'm rooting for the Steelers today. Let's get the AFC East taken care of and then go from there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that the Jets right now, they were the oldest team in the NFL last year. They relied on so many old players. They're kind of having some turnover here, but if Fitzpatrick doesn't work out, then their window's over. I mean, they don't have it in their secondary with no Terrelle Pryor on offense. Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker are old. Matt Forte has looked worse and worse every single week because of the Jets. For whatever reason, they ran him into the ground in week 1. It was a terrible coaching decision. And so I think that the Jets, if they lose, they will fall apart and they'll be over. But looking at the rest of the AFC East, the Dolphins are in a similar position. They are playing host to the Tennessee Titans. I don't think that the Titans are anywhere near the powerhouse team that the Steelers are. So I think that the Dolphins have a little bit more of a favorable position, but they are also 1-3, staring up at a 1-4 start, being out of the playoff picture. Their season will be over. They have their new head coach, a lot of things to worry about. I think that the Titans, they're not a great team, but they're led by John Robinson at general manager. I kind of like them. You can't root against the Titans. You gotta remember that. But I've actually been very, very happy to watch DeMarco Murray kind of break out and just regain his old form with the Titans, because it shows that he was still a good player, even though he was just poorly misutilized with the Eagles. So what's your thought on this game?
I mean, talk about a clash of just absolute football powerhouses, this Titans-Dolphins matchup. I feel like both teams are kind of realizing that this probably isn't going to be their year, and they're both fan bases are saying, all right, if we drop this one, let's just mail it in and go for a high draft pick. I like Titans too. I think we'll probably see either McDaniels or Matt Patricia in Tennessee at some point, either next year or the year after. I think they're a prime candidate for that position. So it's hard. They might be the new Patriots out of the AFC South. The Texans are going away from that. Maybe the Titans, the new Patriots South. But I don't know. I'm not overly concerned about this game. Neither the Titans nor the Dolphins really worry me later on. I think that they're both going to be well out of it by the time the playoffs come around. So I'll be watching it. Maybe during the commercials, I'll kind of flip to it. But nothing that's going on in this game is going to really move the needle for me personally.
Well, okay, you just raised an interesting point there, talking about Josh McDaniels eventually being in Tennessee, because I think that's a great fit. I think that is eventually where he's going to end up. All the pieces are in place. The Titans intentionally tread water with their quarterback so they could shed a lot of the bad cap space. They can bring in some quality players and work them out, improve the offensive line. I feel like they're setting everything up for the next head coach to come in and have a very successful start. And I think Josh McDaniels makes great sense. He can help develop Marcus Mariota into a good player. They have a lot of talent on the Titans. They've done a good job the last 2 years. They just don't have good coaches. So I think McDaniels could eventually go there. With them being the new Patriots South, I think that there is a very real chance that in 2017 or 2018, the AFC South could consist of the Bill O'Brien Texans, the Josh McDaniels Titans, and the Matt Patricia Jaguars. I feel like Matt Patricia is kind of a wild card coach, But I also feel like the Jaguars are the type of team, they and the Browns, I feel like they're the type of teams that'll be like, you know what, we want to take a chance on this coach because we think that he could be a really good fit for us. He could think outside the box and give us an edge that other teams don't have. And so I could see a very real chance that the AFC South consists of 3 former Patriots coordinators all picking on the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, no, that's a really good call. And it's also even possible, like there's definitely a scenario you can foresee where those teams also have like Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo, and maybe even like in 2019 or 2020, Tom Brady, like a 45-year-old Tom Brady wants like one last shot, and there's just Patriots quarterbacks all up and down the board, and then the Colts are like in last place. That would be so funny if that happened. Good call.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy with that too. But again, the Colts are playing the Bears today. The Colts are pretty much the favorites, but they're a bad team. The Colts are an awful team. I don't think they're really worth attention at this point in time. The Patriots probably aren't going to play them this year. So the only other game of real interest to me is the Bills and Rams. That's at 4:25. It's taking place in LA. The Bills are on the road. Do you think that they fall on their face after having a big emotional win over the Patriots? Or, I mean, they've put together back-to-back good wins against the Cardinals and the Patriots. Have they righted the ship, and are they going to be okay for the rest of the year?
I don't know. I don't know. Again, like it's very hard to gauge Buffalo based on last week, especially. I think they probably should have beaten the Patriots by a lot more than 16 points in a completely non-existent offensive system with an injured Jacoby Brissett. You got to give credit where credit is due. I don't want to take away from the Bills' victory last week, but they really haven't shown me anything other than a couple of long bombs here and there. They could easily be 1-3 right now. So, the Rams are kind of a question mark too. I think this is basically 2 teams kind of searching for an identity. And whoever wins this one, whoever goes out on top, is going to be in much better shape going forward, because I think a very kind of demoralizing situation for Buffalo would be have this big divisional win in Foxborough, you finally get one, and then you just completely drop the bet against the Rams. That'd be a bad scene. So I think the Bills are actually they're kind of in more desperation mode than Los Angeles is in this particular situation.
No, that's true. I mean, I kind of think that these 2 teams are 2 of the bigger surprises through the first quarter of the season, where the Bills, they looked dead in the water through 2 weeks. They've turned it around. They have 2 really good wins against 2 really good teams. Out there, the judge is still out on the Cardinals because they haven't looked great. But I think that the Bills have turned it around, and I don't know if they're going to be there at the end of the season, but they've stayed afloat, and they're in an okay position. Whereas the Rams, they're 3-1 and leading the NFC West, which I don't think a single person on the planet was expecting. So that's something that I find interesting. Maybe they've figured it out. I don't think so. I think they're still on their way for another 7-9 season because their offense doesn't scare anyone. So I think that this is going to be a really ugly game. I think that at the end of it, I wouldn't be surprised if the final score was like a 6-3 snooze fest.
Yeah, and then we'll soon see. But hopefully we'll be watching said snooze fest on the heels of a Tom Brady-led Patriots victory. Cleveland is a great team for the Patriots to kind of get back into the game with Tom Brady coming in. All reports have him being not rusty at all. He kind of stepped in business as usual. Everyone seems pretty healthy for the most part. But what are the inactives today, Rich? Any surprise inactives to the Patriots?
Yeah, so the Patriots inactives are running back Brandon Bolden, linebacker Shea McClellan, defensive tackle Vincent Valentine, tight end Greg Scruggs, cornerbacks Justin Coleman and Eric Rowe, and offensive tackle Marcus Cannon. So Brandon Bolden was expected. He had a knee injury last week against the Bills. Shea McClellan suffered a concussion, so he is also an expected one. Vincent Valentine did not practice all week and had a back injury against the Bills. So those 3 were pretty much expected. Same applies to Scruggs and Rowe because they're both new to the team. Rowe is finally healthy, so he's still learning the defense. Scruggs is still learning the offense. But there are 2 big surprises, one on each side of the ball, with Marcus Cannon being out and then Justin Coleman being out. And so I'll just run through that. Marcus Cannon has been battling a calf injury. He worked out prior to the game. Coaching staff and the trainers decided that he was not ready to play. And so the Patriots are going to move forward with Cameron Fleming at starting right tackle. Adrian Waddle will be the backup swing player. And I think that this is interesting because we saw Cameron Fleming early on in the season when Nate Solder wasn't ready to go. And Cameron Fleming looked good. Cameron Fleming looked like a very solid, adequate tackle on the left side, and he's more natural on the right side. And people have been complaining about Marcus Cannon over the first quarter of the season, rightfully so. He's been the weak link on that offensive line. And I think that there's a very possible chance that Marcus Cannon could lose his job to Cameron Fleming because Fleming's cheaper. And I think that Fleming has upside. He's Scar's pick. And I think that Fleming could go out there and have a pretty good game.
No, I agree. I think Cannon and Fleming have both been somewhat pleasant surprises overall. But you're right. Cannon has been the weak link along what's been a magically repaired offensive line. And I'm actually curious to see if Lejeune Waddle ever gets any time as an offensive lineman. Hopefully not. Not that he's necessarily a bad player, but the good thing is they have enough depth at the position. They have enough guys who can move along the outside and inside of that line. That Scarnecchia can kind of do what he has to do to keep the quarterback upright, whoever that is in this case. Speaking of quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo is active today, so if Brady does go down for whatever reason, God forbid, he will be able to play, which is nice. Brandon Bolden's expected, as you said. Hopefully he's not going to be a season-ending injury, which is nice, but he should be missing some time. Do you think that will give an extra opportunity for DJ Foster to do something productive, or think he'll be more of a not a healthy scratch, but he won't see much time on the field today? What do you think about DJ Foster?
I think that they'll give him a couple drives. That's how they're using Bolden. They gave him like one drive per half. I think the same thing applies with Foster. And because the coaching staff used them in a similar function, where when the Patriots put Bolden on the field, I mean, we saw Bolden drop that easy touchdown against the Bills, just bounced off of his hands. But the Patriots drew up plays for Bolden when they put him on the field. And the same thing with DJ Foster. Foster has played 4 snaps this year. He's played 4 snaps. The Patriots have drawn up 3 plays on those snaps to go to Foster. So if Foster's on the field, it's very possible that he's going to see a lot of targets. If the Patriots are up big, I could see them giving him an expanded role just to see what he's made of, give him some more opportunities against this Browns defense. So yeah, I think that Foster's going to have a bigger opportunity, but I think more than anyone, James White is going to be the beneficiary of Tom Brady being out on the field, because the Patriots might use the hurry up. They might use just more of the spread than they did with Jacoby Brissett. And I think that's where White's value comes in as a pass blocker. And so I think that we're going to see a little bit more of James White than we have seen for the rest of the early part of the season.
Someone else we might see a lot more of is the rumors, at least, that Gronkowski had a really good week of practice. He is more or less, not 100%, but he's healthier than he's been. Everything's going really well. People are, especially those that drafted him, I don't know, say 9th overall in your fantasy draft, hypothetically, and are now sitting at 1 and 3 like an idiot because you've got no real tight end production. Gronkowski is going to be back on the field with Martellus Bennett. This might be the first unveiling of that 2 tight end package. Jacoby Brissett threw 1 pass that was completed to a receiver. Last week, it was Julian Edelman. He had 1 catch for 11 or 12 yards. So Amendola, Edelman, Chris Hogan, you expect them all to kind of get back into the offense in some capacity today. The question, though, Rich, is that obviously we're talking about all these players, all these weapons getting back into the fold. There's only so much time, only so many possessions, and only one normally legally inflated football to go around. So somewhere something's got to give. So which position do you see having the most production today, the tight ends or the wide receivers?
So when I was doing my breakdown of the Cleveland Browns, they had 2 big weaknesses. They really struggled to defend the tight ends, where they allowed Washington's Jordan Reed and the Ravens' Dennis Pitta to put up some big production. And then they also struggled against slot receivers like the Eagles' Jordan Matthews and the Dolphins' Jarvis Landry. And those are 2 positions where the Patriots are very well stocked. And you look at the Browns inactives, they will be without starting cornerback Tramon Williams. And that's just going to make it a little bit easier for the Patriots to target their wide receivers. And so I think that this is going to be a big game for Julian Edelman, because I think that he and Tom Brady are going to want to establish the rapport early on. I can also see some big opportunities for Chris Hogan, because that's a development and a pairing that really didn't get to see much time during the preseason. So I can see them trying to work out some kinks as well. But I think that Edelman and Gronkowski, I can see a lot of plays getting manufactured for those 2 players to see opportunities, because they want to get them back in the rhythm, and because Martellus Bennett looked fine during the first 4 weeks of the season. I think that this is the time for Rob Gronkowski to get rid of the rust and show what he can be made of, because Bennett has already done that. And same thing applies with Edelman and Hogan, where we've seen Hogan play down on the deep half of the field. The Patriots really trust him. But Edelman's kind of been battling his foot thing. He missed a day of practice this week. We don't know if there's anything serious or if they were just giving him a day of rest. But I could see this as a very possible opportunity for the Patriots to say, all right, you are the 2 guys that have the best rapport with Tom Brady. We're going to make it easy for Brady to kind of adjust and ease his way back onto the field. We're going to draw up plays for players that you know, that you are comfortable with. And then once the game starts moving, once Brady finds his rhythm, once he gets comfortable in the pocket, then I could see him start spreading it a little bit more, trying to find his Chris Hogans, to Malcolm Mitchells, the Martellus Bennett's. But I think early on, the prime benefactors are going to be Gronk and Edelman.
You got a really good point, Rich. You said talking about using some weapons, some players, some plays to shake the rust off Brady, so to speak. Almost everybody I've heard or read or listened to this week has made these predictions about Brady's. He's pissed. He's going to go off. He's going to pass for 7 touchdowns. He's going to be in late. He's going to be going after it. Is there any concern on your end that this will not be this kind of revenge tour starting right now in Cleveland? He might have to ease into the system a little bit. He might be a little rusty. He might be a little inaccurate. Maybe if you hear some footsteps, you get some guys hitting him a couple times, he won't be this just machine coming out and lighting the league on fire. Or am I a little too pessimistic in my belief that maybe, just maybe, Brady's not going to, rush for 300 yards, pass for 700 touchdowns, and kind of just leave every single Cleveland Brown in like a cartoon like silhouette on the wall, just like a hole where they used to be. Am I a little too pessimistic in thinking that?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that the expectations are extraordinarily high, where if Tom Brady doesn't go out there and throw 4 touchdown passes in the first half, then people are going to be like, oh, a little disappointed with this. I think people are going to want Tom Brady to leave or to lead scoring drives pretty much the entire game. And I don't think that's going to happen. That's kind of unrealistic. But I think if the Patriots put up 25 points, that'll be enough to win the day. You look at this Browns defense. I mean, as I said, Tramon Williams will be out. Joe Hayden hasn't looked great. And I think that there is some talent on this defense, but it's not game-changing. It's a bunch of players that the Patriots are capable of handling. So I think that Tom Brady can go out there, he can get adjusted. And most importantly, he's facing a defensive coordinator in Ray Horton, who runs a defense that's very similar to Dick LeBeau's with the Steelers. And Tom Brady showed last year, when Ray Horton was the defensive coordinator of the Titans, that even without Edelman, even without a strong roster of receivers, he can pick apart a Ray Horton defense. And I think that, in all honesty, that Titans defense had more talent than what the Browns have right now. And I think that we've seen in the past, Tom Brady has never hesitated or had a problem with that Steelers defense, other than once in like 2011 or something like that. But I think that this is a good matchup for the Patriots to face a defense that isn't fully packed with talent and runs a scheme that Brady is comfortable with, that Brady understands, that Brady has a good history against. And so I think that while Brady probably won't be throwing for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, I think that is still going to be a solid outing for him. I think that he's going to find his receivers. I think that this is going to be a really good welcome back to the league for Tom Brady.
So would it be, Rich Hill, a cop-out on my end to pick Tom Brady as my offensive X factor in this game? Because he's technically an X factor. You don't know what's going to happen with him. There's still a chance he might not come out and do what he's got to do. He might have to take some time to ease into it. And him being in there changes the dynamic of the game so much, not only in the playbook and the plays you can call, but the overall perception, the attitude, the motivation on the sidelines. I feel like he's the ultimate offensive X factor, and I want to pick him, but I feel like that might be kind of a cop-out.
No, go for it. Go for it. You just have to give your key matchup too. If Brady is your X factor, what's your key matchup?
Well, my key matchup for Tom Brady obviously always is with him, it's pressure, right? If he starts hearing footsteps, if he gets sacked a couple times early, if the offensive line can't quite get in there and protect him enough, then he could go and start maybe having a rough day. The problem is I'm looking at this Browns roster, and there's no real defensive players that I'm like, this guy is going to be a huge guy I have to factor in for a pass rush or a linebacker. I guess there's like Tank Carter isn't horrible. There's Danny Shelton. Carl Nassib is okay. Xavier Cooper's all right. So I guess like the Patriot, Tom Brady versus footsteps in general is what I'll kind of just put as the key matchup. If he gets hit early and if he gets rattled, that might be a problem. But as long as he can kind of find himself and find his rhythm again, I think he's going to be a pretty strong day overall.
No, that's a good one. So I think that my X factor is going to be David Andrews, and I'm going to totally cheat here. I'm using my X factor and my key matchup to talk about two different things. My X factor is going to be David Andrews because he has had problems this year facing strong defensive tackles. And as you said, the Browns don't really have a great pass rush. They don't have anything strong in that category. But Danny Shelton has been a big force this year. He's a huge athlete, and he's been able to just bully his way through that offensive line. And we saw David Andrews struggle with the likes of Vince Wilfork. He struggled with Kyle Williams. I mean, he doesn't do a good job against these big, strong guys. So David Andrews, and whether he's assisted by Joe Thuney or Shaq Mason, David Andrews needs to step up and keep Tom Brady clean in the pocket, because we all know that the way to disrupt Tom Brady is to get in his face, and it's to collapse with interior pressure. And so David Andrews is going to have to stop Danny Shelton from having his way around there. So that's my X factor. My key matchup, whoever is lining up opposite of Joe Hayden. So Joe Hayden is the Browns' top cornerback. He's good. I mean, he used to be fantastic. He suffered some injuries. He hasn't been great since, but he's still better than Jamar Taylor. We know that Tramon Williams is out. So Jamar Taylor, I think that he's going to be starting opposite of Joe Hayden. I think he has been starting this year too, but there isn't too much of an option opposite of Joe Hayden. So I think that my matchup will be how the Patriots kind of configure their offense to say, all right, well, who's going to be the sacrificial lamb with Joe Hayden? Are we going to put Malcolm Mitchell out there? And then the other player is going to be the ideal target. And we saw this 2 years ago in the playoffs against the Baltimore Ravens when the Patriots just picked apart Rashawn Melvin. I think that's what's going to happen here. I think that the Patriots are going to say, all right, well, it's not even worth our time to look at Joe Hayden's direction. Let's just go pick on the other person. And so I think that's my key matchup, is whichever player aligns opposite of Joe Hayden for the Patriots on the other side of the field, big day receiving. And even if it's a different player every single time, whoever is on the opposite side of the field is going to have a big day.
You know, Rich, sacrificial lamb's a good term, because that might be what you want to call the best offensive weapon for any team facing the Patriots. It's obviously Terrelle Pryor in Cleveland. He is pretty much their entire team. He kind of he's their quarterback sometimes. He's their best receiver. He's their best offensive weapon. Their quarterback is Cody Kessler, because Josh McCown is out, Robert Griffin is out. They're not really a strong passing team. Isaiah Crowell is a okay running back, but he's not great. So Terrelle Pryor is definitely going to be the guy the Patriots focus on eliminating today on the defensive side of the ball. So after Terrelle Pryor, if you are Cleveland and you are saying, okay, Pryor's just not going to get it done today, they're bracketing him, they're bumping him up the line, they're confusing him, what's your game plan facing the Patriots defense? It's been pretty good overall.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that you have to target Gary Barnidge, because you look at the other wide receivers on the Browns, there's no Corey Coleman, so that you don't have that deep threat. You have a bunch of rookies. You have Rashard Higgins, Ricardo Lewis, and Jordan Payton. All three are rookies. And your only other veteran wide receiver is Andrew Hawkins, who's a slot guy, who's good. He's fine, but he's not going to win the day on his own. That you need to look at Gary Barnidge, who kind of broke on the scene last year. He hasn't really done too much this year, but he has a favorable matchup. And I hate to say this. I hate to say that it's a favorable matchup, because I love Patrick Chung. I think that he has been criminally underrated over the past 2 seasons, but he has not been good this year. Patrick Chung has been missing tackles. He hasn't been a force. He's been battling injuries, I think. I think that the opening game against the Cardinals, he kind of fell, he got banged up, and he's looked slow. He's been a step behind the tight ends, and we've seen players kind of walk down the field when they're going his direction. We saw Charles Clay have success last week. Before then, I know it was garbage time, but he let Ryan Griffin get behind him. Saw Jordan Cameron. So we see that Patrick Chung hasn't had great success. So I think that if I'm the Browns, I'm going to say, all right, Patrick Chung ranks 81st out of 82 graded safeties by Pro Football Focus, 81st out of 82. So I'm going that direction. I'm going to say, Gary Barnidge, we just gave you a contract. We think that last year was not a fluke. We're going to ask you to carry the team down the field. If you can pick up 2-3 plays of 25-plus yards, then there's a chance that the Browns could generate some offense, give some breathing room for Isaiah Crowell, who Bill Belichick himself said that Crowell's like a really good, strong runner. And if you can give Crowell some breathing room to run, then you can have a game here. So I think that if I'm trying to attack the second level of the Patriots defense, you got to go with Gary Barnidge to open up doors for the running backs down the road.
So with that 81 out of 82, what a depressing statistic that is, Rich. But with the 81 out of 82, do you still see Bill Belichick putting Patrick Chung on a tight end like Gary Barnidge, and maybe doing Malcolm Butler with some safety help on Terrelle Pryor? Or do you want to maybe see Chung and maybe a Jamie Collins or Dante Hightower teaming up on Gary Barnidge? How do you take both those weapons out if you're Matt Patricia today?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question. So I think that the best comparison I can give is how the Patriots defended DeAndre Hopkins. And that's because he's been the most premier wide receiver that the Patriots have faced this season. You can make an argument for Larry Fitzgerald, but he's a slot receiver, so that's not how the Patriots will match up against him. And the Patriots fared, they placed Logan Ryan up close against DeAndre Hopkins, and they used Devin McCourty as an underneath coverage, as an overneath or above coverage. So I think that that's what the Patriots are going to do. They're going to designate a safety and a cornerback to Terrelle Pryor. They're going to say, Cyrus Jones, you go out there and you cover Andrew Hawkins or even Malcolm Butler. But I think that you look at the Patriots and say, they put Eric Rowe and Justin Coleman as an active for a reason. I don't think that this is going to be a big cornerback game. I think that this is a chance for the Patriots to play three safeties. I think that we're going to see a lot of Devin McCourty and Daron Harmon and Patrick Chung. And I think that because the Patriots are going to put Devin McCourty so closely in coverage of Terrelle Pryor, then that means Daron Harmon is going to be the deep safety over the top. Patrick Chung will cover Gary Barnidge. And I think that this is the matchups that the Patriots want, they'll be okay with, and it will still allow the Patriots to have a pretty heavy and strong defensive front where you can stop the run, you can give enough attention and focus to stop Isaiah Crowell or to stop Duke Johnson from catching the ball out of the backfield. So long as you eliminate Terrelle Pryor and whatever big throws he has, and I think that Logan Ryan and Devin McCourty together can do that. If that's what happens, it makes the Browns offense one-dimensional. And then it all comes down to the Patriots and their tackling ability, because last week they did not do a good job tackling. The Bills slipped like 7 tackles or something crazy like that. LaShawn McCoy was covered in grease. So I think that if the Patriots can do a good job tackling, they'll be in a position to win. They'll make the Browns one-dimensional. And then Cody Kessler cannot be expected to win the game with his arm, just like Jacoby Brissett couldn't have been expected to win last week.
Tony, you mentioned Daron Harmon. He's my defensive X factor today. I think you absolutely nailed it with how they're going to utilize Devin McCourty. I see him as almost like a second/third cornerback on various offensive weapons for Cleveland today, which is going to leave Harmon more than McCourty kind of roaming that middle to deep range, preventing against a deep ball. He's actually pretty good at that. Harmon's a very good deep ball preventative safety. So I think he's hoping to have a big game in that today. And the only reason I picked him as my X factor for a defense is because I don't know if I can actually pick Stephen Gostkowski as an X factor at any point.
Do it.
But I'd like to pick, because if you watch fantasy teams, you play fantasy, you see defense/special teams as a roster spot. So because of that, I want to pick Gostkowski, who hasn't had the best start to 2016. He's missed a couple very makeable field goals, one to ice the game against Miami, one against the Buffalo Bills that really would have put the Patriots on the board and maybe turn momentum a little bit. So hopefully he doesn't have a lot of chances to do field goals today because they're in the end zone a lot. But if he has a couple of longer, maybe 40-plus yard field goals, hopefully he makes those, gets whatever's in his head out of there, and get back to the kicker that we all fell in love with.
No, that's a good one. That's a good choice. My X factor is going to be Dont'a Hightower. I think that Hightower did not play up to our lofty expectations for him last week against the Bills. He has been battling a knee injury, and so he was struggling breaking down in space. He did not do a good job defending against LaShawn McCoy, and it's going to be just as important this week because Duke Johnson is one of their leading producers on the Browns offense. So I think Dont'a Hightower is going to have to come in for 2 big ways, though. He needs to be stout against Isaiah Crowell to stop the run, but also the Browns are on their third-string center. They are missing Cameron Fleming. They are missing Austin Reiter. So therefore, uncork a lot of interior blitzes with their linebackers. And that's where Dont'a Hightower really shines. And I think that he's going to come in here. He's going to be the middle linebacker. He's going to start crashing the house. And he's going to put pressure on Cody Kessler to make sure that he never gets settled in the pocket. I don't think that the Patriots want to give him a chance to find a rhythm because he's a rhythm passer. So if the Patriots send Dont'a Hightower, he has a lot of success up the middle. He's my X factor. He needs to have a big day. He needs to show that he's healthy. It has to be Logan Ryan, Terrelle Pryor, or whoever lines up against Terrelle Pryor. I think that has to be the big matchup. We saw that the Patriots secondary has not had a very strong start to the season. We saw them kind of fall apart late against the Cardinals. We saw them fall apart late against the Dolphins, and we saw them just let the Bills walk up and down the field in the first half. So the Patriots secondary has really put together one solid game against the Texans. I think that it's time that they put together another good one.
Well, we will soon find out, my friend. Kickoff less than half hour away. Time to get to predictions. Last week, I had the Patriots winning 20-10. Did not happen. And you had the Bills 23-20, which technically didn't happen, but it happened more than mine happened. So the nod goes to Rich Hill for week 4 at Cleveland, Patriots, Browns, the return of Tom Brady. What do you got for this one?
All right, so the Patriots are 11.5-point favorites, or the line kind of has narrowed to about 10.5 points. But I think that that's kind of fair. I don't really trust the Browns' offense. I think that this is going to be a really good rebound game for the Patriots for many reasons. So I think that my final choice is that the Patriots win this one 27-13.
27-13 Patriots for Rich Hill. Yeah, I mean, I had the Patriots winning this one as well. I think they come in and they win big. But the real question is, do they want to make a statement with this game, or do they want to just kind of make sure Brady is eligible to play and comfortable? And I don't know the answer to that question, but I see them kind of really getting a rhythm early. I think everyone's going to be fired up. The only thing I'm worried about is sometimes teams get a little too fired up and then they overcommit and they get a little too overzealous, commit some penalties. And if the Patriots come out a little too rowdy, that could be some problems maybe for a little lower scoring game. But I say the Patriots come up this one. They win this one 31-17.
Wow, that's a high-scoring game. That'll be good. I'd be happy if I saw that one happen. Hopefully, and most importantly, everyone stays healthy in this one. Everyone stays safe. So I think that this is going to be a good game. Next week, the Patriots will face the Cincinnati Bengals, so that should be another good one. But right now, the focus is on how Tom Brady looks in his first game. We'll have all of the updates on patspulpit.com. We will also have a post-game Facebook live chat, so make sure you follow us there. And Alec, do you have any final thoughts on this game?
Tommy, welcome home.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone else, enjoy the game.